Today we're going to talk about promotions and contests because they pretty much go together. And we're going to embark on a multi-lesson path that we go down through. Not quite sure how many lessons this is going to be until I actually knock them out. But this is number one, and we're going to start talking about how you should think when you're doing promotions or a contest. Hey Buckaroos, welcome back to Musicom Academy. Today it's going to be all about contests and promotions. This is the first of a series of lessons about contests and promotions in general, although usually they kind of go together most of the time. But a lot of times there's promotions and there is no contest involved. So we'll go through those as the lessons go on, about this particular subject. But let me just hold there for 1 second and talk to you if you are a PD right this moment. And a very simple question. Are you playing any Beatles songs this week? Now, this week is basically the first week of December, okay? So December 2021. Now, if you're watching this a year from now, okay, that may not be a good question. But right this moment, are you playing any Beatles songs? Now, most stations don't play any Beatles songs. I mean, it's, unless you're a classic hit station, and even then it's sort of iffy if you are. Classic rock station, probably doing a few. But the Peter Jackson Disney Beatles movie that's been, hidden for 50 years that he put together, everybody's talking about those, and you're seeing them actually come up with literally the songs in front of your eyes. So if you're a radio station PD, are you playing any of those songs right now? Which opens up another bigger question, for something, like a lot of the other big movies that are in theaters or on Netflix or, the Apple series with Ted Lasso. They play a lot of music in that. I know there was one song, it was the Jerry Marsden Pacemakers song that somebody else had recorded, and I think it was season 1, and it was You'll Never Walk Alone, which was a big thing in England. Are you playing that song? Because millions of people are seeing that song or the Beatles songs on videos and films that they're watching, and they're really into it, and they're talking about it on Facebook. And, I can't tell you how many Beatles things that I've seen on Facebook, people raving about it. Are you reflecting that? And the reason I'm saying that, I'm pointing it out, is that if you're a PD, in addition to all the other things that we go through here, one of the main requirements really, and what you should be doing, is your station should also be a reflection, a mirror, if you will, of the soundtrack of people's lives. A lot of times if you can pull it off, it's like when they're driving around and they're seeing stuff, does your station fit that? If they're watching TV and they get interested in something, does your station fit that? Are you reflecting it in any way? And you should be, okay? So, these are the easiest ways to do it, because you can say, wow, did you see the Beatles series? Last night they put together Get Back, so let me play that for you, and here's the end result. It just gives you an excuse to mirror what people are thinking and what they're talking about. This also moves over into contests, because right now, again, in early December of 2021, inflation is really roaring. It's smoking along, and gas is super high, and food is super high, and everything is super high. So if you have a contest where normally you might not think about doing it, now's a great time to give away gas. Now's a great time to actually give away food. Now, I know you're probably thinking, food? I don't know of any station that's ever given away food. Well, when I first became a PD, that was pretty much the first thing that I actually did as a major, Arbitron contest. I gave away food at a grocery store in Detroit, Farmer Jack's, huge big chain, and we had a $60,000 checkout. That was what the contest was called. And at the time we gave away $500, to people. They won $500 worth of groceries, which now is, inflation, because that was probably in 1980, 81, somewhere in there, before inflation subsided and they got a handle on it. Inflation was running like, 18, 19% at the time. We gave away food. It was a monster contest. I can tell you how many people wanted to win that contest, because basically everybody spends money on food, so essentially we were giving them $500. Except that, I didn't have to give them $500. I was giving them gift certificates for $500 worth of food at a Farmer Jack's grocery store. Go in and buy whatever you want. Now you could easily do it with $1,000 worth of, groceries at, pick a big chain that's in your area, and fantastic prize. And again, you are mirroring the soundtrack to people's lives. So I just want to point that out to you. Now, one other thing that goes along with this promotion and contest lesson, next week as we get into the next lesson, I'm going to show you a foolproof, I can't say the word here, let me try that word again, foolproof, wow, okay, did I talk for a living? Foolproof way of taking whatever your contest budget is. So let's just say you're a small station and your contest budget is maybe, I don't know, for the ratings period, 20 grand. Let's just say it's 20. I can make you double that up to 40 grand. Just like that. There's a little work involved, but it's pretty darn easy, and pretty much everybody you try to do it with will say yes under particular circumstances. I'm going to tell you about that next week, okay? On the next week's lesson. But it's really, really powerful. Now, moving on. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I don't want to move on because this is a lesson into itself, okay? Did you just get a feeling like, man, I don't want to wait till next week? That sucks. Why are you telling me that? Why are you kind of ramping me up and telling me next week? Okay, I want it now. Give me the information now. To me, this is maybe just me. I know other people like to tease and like to drag people along. I don't like that at all. I hate that. I never did that. I think contests, and that's the reason I just mentioned telling you how to double up your promotional budget. I'm going to tell you that at the end of this lesson, okay? You're not going to have to wait till next week. I just wanted to kind of point that out to you that you're going to feel like ripped off. I think when you do a contest, you cannot, in this day and age anymore, where you used to be able to do it, you can't drag people out so they're going to have to listen 4, 5, 6 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever in order to actually win. Like with a secret sound or the secret this, or try to figure out this puzzle or all of that type of stuff. People just don't have the time for that anymore. You have to do basically what television does, which is there's recurring characters in any kind of sitcom or any kind of drama like an FBI series. You see the same people, but the problem starts in the beginning of the 1 hour episode, and then they arrest or kill the bad guy at the end. The whole thing starts and ends in that hour. Okay, and you're going to have to do the same thing. I really believe in a contest, you're going to have to get some contest caller on the line, and they are going to play, and it's going to end. They're either going to win or they're going to lose right then and there. Next person gets on, and it starts fresh again. It's a fresh shot every single time. And it's interesting for people listening, okay? And they're playing along. Oh, that's kind of cool. I would have won that. Or I would have lost too. Whatever. But don't try to drag them on. In this day and age is like torture to an audience, and they won't put up with it. Now, again, other PDs think differently, and you may think differently, and you're certainly free to do that. But that's the way I would do it, and that's the reason why. Another thing too, I think that's the reason why people binge watch. You could, I know when we were first started watching Ted Lasso on Apple Plus, and you go like, oh man, that was awesome. I think you could see the first 2 episodes out of the gate. The first 2 were cool, and then you have to wait till every Friday to do it. And that became like, oh man, this sucks. You have to wait every week. I mean, it was cool on the Friday. They did something to look forward to Friday night, but if they were there right in the beginning, I would have just binge watched. And, probably a ton of people would just binge watch it. Front to back. Boom. Done. Over with. Move on. And that's pretty much, I believe, the equivalent of starting a contest. Hey, hi caller, what's your name? Okay, you ready to play? Sure, let's play. Blah, blah, blah. We play the game. Oh, hey, you just won $1,000. Or tough luck, try again. Next hour, another winner. That kind of thing. Now, let's start out this lesson where it's mainly going to go, other than at the end where I'm going to tell you how to double up your budget. I want you to kind of think of contests and promotions, mainly in sort of, this is the way I do it, and I'm sure there's more, maybe I can make it 4, 5, 6, whatever, but I think of them in 3 separate types of areas. There's image type promotions where it's imaging of the station, and that could be contests. I'll give you an idea of what could be a contest for imaging. Let's say you're in a town and the World Series or the Stanley Cup or the FIFA Cup or some other big sporting event is in your town and you got tickets, okay? By giving away tickets on the air, which is a contest, it will enhance your image of the radio station, that you're in tune with the people, you're in tune with what they're talking about, you're in tune with the soundtrack. So it's an image promotion, but it's also a contest. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure which one comes first or which one is more important, the contest or the image part, but they blend together, that one causes the other. And there's lots of things that are like that. Usually it involves tickets. Say the Eagles somehow reunited and they went out on tour and you had Eagle tickets and they're at one of the big venues in your town and you're giving away Eagle tickets. Same thing. Tickets are what's coming to mind, at the moment, but I'm sure there's a lot of other things that fit that, where you are reflecting something hot in your town, making you local, making you matching the soundtrack of what people are talking about, and that would be enhancing your image. So that's number one. Number two is just a flat out contest. It's a contest and it's promotion, they're working together, but it's really there to beef up your audience, to make your audience kick up. That's the primary reason. It's not for image, it's for longer listening, bigger cume, something along that line, okay? So that's number two. And, those would be the ones where, let's say you're doing something like high-low, which, was pretty prevalent, ages ago. But again, this is one of those ones now that has to go, you have to be listening day after day after day in order to win it, unless you're incredibly lucky, which is pretty much virtually impossible. And the way high-low worked was, you'd pick a number, say there's a number between 1 and 5,000. You tell us what the high-low number is, and you win $5,000, okay? And you'll get people in line, and they'll guess, and usually, pretty quickly, the contest people who really play a lot, the people who are contest fanatics on your radio station, they catch on pretty quickly that all they have to do is just keep having the numbers, and they'll hone in on it really fast. Okay, so say the number is between 1 and 5,000, somebody will say 2,500, boom, so now it's between 2,500 and 5,000. And then, the next person, they'll cut that in half again. So they'll cut half of 2,500. What is that? 1,250. And then they'll cut it in half again. And they'll narrow it down. So sometimes what normally you'd assume would take 10, 12 days to win, it may only take 3 days and you got a winner. And that screws up your budget. So you got to bear that in mind. But anyway, so winning a high-low or winning like a Beat the Bomb, which goes on a lot of different stations, or simply the Pay Your Bills, you win at 7:10 in the morning, we call out your name, somebody calls us back within a certain amount of time, all those type of contests to try to get people to come in as a new cume or a returning cume or to listen longer. To me, that's category number two, which is a contest promotion, that are tied together, that is strictly there to basically jump your ratings. The third one is a combination of pretty much all of them, really, of the first two, and they're really hard to pull off, but they're the best ones to pull off. And I point these three out to you because in specific terms, I want you to be thinking of, as you try to make a promotion, if you can do it, you can't do it for everything, that's for sure, but if you can do it, is to do the number three one, which is calling attention to your programming with a promotional contest, okay, that the person listening, a typical listener, doesn't know it, but you are changing their mind, you are changing the way they're thinking, you are actually kind of, as if they're a jury, you are moving them from guilty to not guilty, because you are planting information and an image in their head as they're playing the game and playing along with the game that they don't even know what's going on, and it changes them. Now, let me give you a couple examples of that, because that probably sounded pretty obtuse. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I don't get it at all. Okay, let me give you an easy one. So let's say, and I have done this contest Man, I have probably done this contest 6 different times in 4 different markets. It was like my go-to one. Now, this was in a diary time, so in a PPM market, it would for sure be good because it's just a great contest flat out. But if you're in a diary market where you want people to remember your radio station, especially if you're new and you launched, this is an awesome contest, okay? And what I call it is intuition. You can call it anything you want. And it was pretty simple the way it worked. It was just the flipping of a coin. And I did the flipping of a coin usually for $500. But this is the way it worked. We would flip a fictional coin. So the person's on the line, you get a listener on the line. Hey, Joe, you ready to play, intuition? Yeah, absolutely. All right. $500, Joe. All you have to do is just tell us what side of our intuition coin is going to come up. And it's either going to be call letters or frequency. So it's KISS or it's 102.7. It's Light FM or it's 98.3. It's frequency and it is call letters. Okay, I know I moved those around, but you get the idea, okay? So they're continually, the players and anybody listening, they are running over your call letters and your frequency in their head for the entire duration of the contest. Now, if you did this contest for a month or 2 months and you're doing it like every other hour or every third hour or something, you are pounding your call letters into their head, but you're not really doing it. They're doing it themselves. They're saying the call letters to themselves. They're pounding it into their own heads. It's super crazy powerful. And a lot of times somebody will be like, well, I'll do, what do I think? Okay, last time it was call letters. Time before that it was call letters. And again, they're saying the call letters. So it might be like, okay, last time it was Virgin. And the one before that it was Virgin. And I think the one before that was Virgin, if I recall. This time, this time I'm going to say the frequency, 98.7. They're doing it in their own head. They're grinding it in themselves. And they will for sure not forget it. They will lock you down unbelievably. So if you have a pretty big cume, so let's say you have a cume of 500,000 people, you have 500,000 people running your call letters and frequency in their head every single time that you do the contest. Super powerful. So that's what I mean by a promotion, a contest that is actually, it's clocking your image, obviously, but it's got a greater meaning. It's enhancing, your ratings, because it's sort of the ratings one too, because the people are listening, they're playing, they might want to, listen longer, and they're going to play along, and it's entertaining, but it's also doing that third thing. It is screwing with their head. Back in the mid 80s, I was at a radio station and we went to 2 stop sets. Now, that's not earth shaking now, as a lot of stations do 2 stop sets or maybe only 1. But at the time, I don't think there was another station anywhere in America doing 2 stop sets. They were all doing 3 or 4, usually 3. It was the typical 20, 37, and 50-ish, somewhere in there. So I went to 2. Instead of having three breaks, I went to 2 breaks, which was the 20 and the 50. Now, if I was doing it, I'd probably do it in 15 and 45 for what I'm about to explain. And let me show you a graphic of that. We had some billboards up, and we had some direct mailers that actually pushed this, and it was the music payoff. And it was really simple. It was like super simple. And what it was we went to these 2 breaks, which were 30 minutes apart, okay, 15 and 45. Okay, it's 30 minutes across, except that we're playing 4 minutes here and we're playing 4 minutes of commercials there. Now, you might even do 5. Okay, so now it's really not 30 minutes of music, but the spot sets are still 30 minutes apart, okay? So that's what I concentrated on. I didn't, care about this part, about that extra 4 or 5 minutes. I chose to just pound the 30 minutes. And the way the contest worked, it was pretty simple, was you keep track of the first song out of the commercials. At the end, when we get done with the sweep, the half-hour music sweep, that's what we called it, a half-hour music sweep. Again, even though it was not a half-hour of music, it was a half-hour between commercial breaks. But at the end of the half-hour music break, I'll take a caller, you tell me what the first song is, and we gave you $100. And we did it every half hour. So it's, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100 all day long. From, I think it was 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning to around 4 o'clock in the afternoon when we had to go to 3 breaks because of, traffic and more commercials and that type of stuff. So basically, it was a midday contest, 7 days a week. I did it because I thought it would be an easy contest. I also did it because I wanted something super simple that was start and ended, boom, right there. I didn't want to drag it out for days like I was talking about. What I found out was on the next focus group, we did focus groups every quarter, okay? Which is a huge luxury to actually have that. But that was what we had. Every quarter we did focus groups. I did the contest, and on the next quarterly focus group, which really wasn't even really a quarter, it was maybe 2 months into it, we owned the more music position. Just totally crushed everybody else. It wasn't even a question. Who plays the most music? Who has? And people who start mirroring back. Well, they do these half-hour music breaks. They play 30 minutes of music, and then they just do a few commercials, and then they do 30 minutes more of music. They do it all day long. But for sure, they play more music than any other station, in the city. And yet, we actually weren't. It was just packaged differently. We screwed with their heads, which was a complete surprise to me. Only looking back at it when I saw the focus groups, like, wow, that was cool. I really didn't assume that was going to be happening because I didn't really think in those terms because it was sort of earlier on in my programming career. But now, after that, it's one of those main things that crosses my mind. How am I going to do that? How am I going to be in category 3 and screw with people's heads? How can I do all 3 things at once? Okay? So let me tell you about the music payoff thing a little bit more, because if you have 2 breaks right now, you can do this either with or without the contest. But I think this was also the other 50% of why it was so powerful. Okay, why the whole thing worked so well. In addition to having an easy contest, just tell me the first song in the half-hour music sweep. When we get to the end, you be the right caller, tell me the right answer, tell me what the song was, $100, boom. And then, we'll do it all again. And, at the end of that break, we'd say, here we go, here's the first song of the next half-hour music break. Around, let's just say 2:45, we'll ask you again when the music stops. We'll tell us what this song is. And this is U2 in 1. Okay, you tell them what the song was. You just make it as easily as humanly possible. What I wanted them to do, if they did, is to come in and out or to just stay for the half hour. I didn't care which one of them. If they stayed, great. If they went in and out, that's fine too. I really didn't care. Big numbers, big ratings jump with this thing. But here's the other part of why it worked. I went out of my way and I probably made 30 different promos, a little bit longer promos. They weren't like super long, but they weren't little, quick 10-second imaging things. I sat around and had some help from other people in the radio station. We were thinking, and what it centered on was what takes a half an hour? What is an absolute thing of frame of reference for a regular person? What takes a half an hour typically to play? And that would turn into a certain amount of quarters at a football game. Maybe it's the first half, okay? So it would turn into, again, I don't remember if we used first half or was it the first, 3 quarters of a basketball game or whatever. But let's just say it's the first half of a football game. So it would be, if you love football, picture yourself at a football game and you walk in and Warm 98, that was the name of the radio station, Warm 98, as you walk into the stadium, starts playing one of our half-hour music sets. And you sat and watched the entire first half of the game. It's now halftime, and you walk out of the stadium and get in your car and turn on the radio. We are still playing that same half-hour music set. It's just about ready to come to an end where you could win $100. So there's a frame of reference, and somebody's going, wow, you can go a whole half of a football game and the music doesn't stop? That's like a long time. It's only a half hour. Same thing, I picked a suburb, picked a bunch of different suburbs actually in that city where typically to drive from suburb X or Y or Z or Q or R or M or whatever, these suburbs, to drive from there downtown would typically take you roughly a half hour. I didn't take the ones that are out farther, and I didn't take the ones that are shorter in. These suburbs take a half hour to get in, and most people would know that. So therefore, when you start your car up at your home and you drive into work in downtown, when the half-hour music set starts, you are not going to hear anything but music all the way in on your ride from beginning to end. That's a half-hour music set. And that's what we play all day, every day between 9 and 4, and you can win $100, blah, 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 blah. So that's what we did. And every possible thing that I could think of that had a half-hour component to it that everybody would acknowledge, one of them was putting an album on, a typical 33, critical component of everything that I just explained to you. Because again, people are going, yeah, that takes me a half hour to drive in. Wow, that's a lot of time. I can actually drive all the way in and they don't play any commercials. I'm going to hear just music. Or, well, yeah, I listen to albums. Again, albums were more prevalent at that time. CDs were in, but a lot of people still had albums, and you could certainly, know the timing of an album. And you go like, wow, I can play an entire album, both sides, from beginning to end. And that's how, and that's it. That's how much the music goes. It's just super powerful. Again, it's putting it into someone's normal thinking and to a degree, a soundtrack of their life, certainly if they're driving and if they have albums and they listen to them. And every other way that it would be, I think we even had some where you're going somewhere in a fancy restaurant and you're ordering food, and by the time the food comes, typically a half hour before the food would end up, on your table, all of those types of things. So I think you should bear those 3 types of categories of promotions and contests in mind, and we'll go through a lot more stuff on promotions as the next few lessons keep coming up. As we go forward in the next lessons, hopefully the next lesson I'll be doing it. If not, it'll be one of the other ones past that. A friend of mine, Kenny, who is he's done radio stations and it helped with programming radio stations all over the world. We got talking one day on the phone. We started talking about promotions, that I was gonna do this, and he said, "Oh my God, I got really some pretty hard notions about how you would promote contests." And I was like, "Really? Well, give me an idea." So he told me a few things, and as usual, it was like, "Stop, hold it right there. Let's do a lesson with that." So he and I are going to be doing a lesson, and it'll be specifically if you're coming up on a ratings promotion, how would you promote it? Literally, how would you promote it? Would you have promos? Would you have liners? Where would you place them? How long would they be? How many of them would they be? How much would you play them? Would you do the liner every hour? Would you do the liner twice an hour, every other hour, every third hour? Same thing with the promos themselves. Every hour, every other hour, every third hour. Would you ramp it up? 3 weeks out, once every 3 hours. 2 weeks out, every other hour. The week just before the major contest starts, every hour, that type of stuff. Really specific stuff that you can sit and go, okay, I love that I learned that. I may or may not do it that way, or I may alter, I'll be somewhere in between, or hopefully you might say, which I found a lot of people who are starting out in programming, they usually are nowhere near the amount of banging away at telling an audience what they're doing as they should be. They'll say like, well, yeah, I have a promo, once a shift, and the shift is like, the show's a 4-hour show and they do it once every 4 hours. And you're like, man, that's like not enough. That's like a major promotion. You should be doing that like probably every hour. Ooh, that sounds like a lot. No, it's not, because the audience is turning over so much. So it's that type of stuff. We'll devote an entire lesson to that. Now, finally, how do you double your budget? How do you double your promotion budget? I found this by accident because, we didn't have as much money as I would have loved to, and it was coming up on a major, ratings period. It was an Arbitron thing. And I actually did it, giving away the food. And that was the first one. And then it turned into, wow, this was pretty cool. I can do this a lot. And I have done it so many times since then. I have done it with stereo gear. I have done it with electronics. I've done it with computers. I've done it with airfare. American Airlines done it with Air Canada. Diesel Clothing, Ralph Lauren. You can do it with pretty much any sort of company that has any sort of margins that are in the 40-50% range. Furniture stores, you could do it with that really easily. Although I don't know how many people really want to win furniture. It's not a universal prize. Although for an AC station, the universality of it becomes bigger. But you want something that everybody will use. So let me just go back to the grocery thing, okay? But again, this could be, you could probably do it with gas, although I don't know the markup on gas that much. The gas, gas markup might not be much. And let me tell you why I'm talking about markup first. You want a company or a business that has a markup of at least 50%, because what you're going to do, and your salesperson or your sales manager, are usually going to have to go with you. And, and you're going to have to sit and talk to the owner. So let's just say you're talking to the head of a grocery store chain. So maybe if you're in the US, you're talking to Kroger, or you're talking to, the advertising agency that handles Kroger, and there's a couple Kroger people in the room. Here's what I want to do. I want to give away $60,000 worth of Kroger groceries. And they're going to go, well, I don't know about that. That's $60,000. That's a lot of groceries. Or $60,000 is a lot of, jeans. Or $60,000 is a lot of clothing. Or $60,000 is a lot of stuff at Best Buy. Insert the company there. The company name. Okay, so this is what you're going to get. But then the next thing is, well, I usually save the best for last, but you could throw it out right first and probably end it right then and there. But I usually would next go into, but here's what you get. You get all of these promos, all of these liners where, let's just say Best Buy, say that's the company you're going to be working with. Best Buy is writing all of these. Every promotion, every promotional spot, every liner, every web thing that we do on the homepage, every outside advertising that we do, everything we do, and here's the dollar amount. You're going to be getting, let's just say it's a $500,000 worth of promotion on the radio station. You're writing all of that for free for the 60 grand worth. But they're still like, but it's 60 grand. I don't know. That's a lot of money. $60,000 of groceries or $60,000 worth of Best Buy electronics. That's a lot for us to handle, in this city. Or maybe it's even 100 that you're asking them for. But here's the kicker. This is what ends it, assuming you have the budget for it, because it's half of your budget. You go like, okay, I need $60,000 worth of Best Buy or groceries. I'm going to pay you wholesale for it. I'm going to give you $30,000 in cash. I'm going to give you the $30,000 in cash to pay for your wholesale version of this, in addition to everything else that I just described. And all of a sudden, then it goes, well, tell me a little bit more about that. It's just what happens. So instead of trying to give away $20,000, which doesn't go very far, or $30,000 that doesn't go very far in your particular market, go to someone that has pricing that you think would be great for your audience and just pay them basically their wholesale price. You're buying it from the wholesale, and you just give them the chance to ride your promotion because it fits anyway, because somebody's going to hear like, wow, I can go into Best Buy with a $1,000 gift certificate and get whatever I want. That's awesome. Oh my God, that's fantastic. Sure. Like one sells the other. One gives credence to the other. Remember when we were doing American Airlines, it was fly anywhere that American Airlines fly. That was actually the contest. Anywhere in the world where American Airlines flies, if you win, you tell us where you want to go. 2 tickets, no questions asked. It was a phenomenal promotion. It was awesome. And the amazing thing about that, kind of like as an aside, you'd kind of assume that everybody would be looking at where American Airlines flies and go, because I did this in Detroit. And you'd assume, well, American Airlines, somebody's going to be saying like, well, I want to fly to like, I don't know, Beijing, China. Or I want to fly to Paris, or I want to fly some really, Australia, some really long place that American Airlines flies. But probably half the winners, I want to go to Las Vegas. Really? It's like a $300 trip. You could go take a $3,000 trip. You want a $300 trip? Like, what's wrong with you? But that's what they would do. I want to go to LA. I want to go see my relatives in North Carolina. And it's amazing how much they didn't fly very far, which only made the whole thing last longer because they were chewing up the money less fast than, I actually thought they were. I planned for, everybody taking the long ones, and the contest would last, X amount of period, but it actually lasted longer because they were choosing short trips, which to me was, really stunning. Anyway, to go back to, that's what you do. You go to a client or someone that you want and you put up your promotional budget in cash to buy their stuff, and you for them writing the promotion and handling the paperwork, and giving you the gift certificates. So they'll print gift certificates, they'll hand them to you, you give them to somebody, and then they handle all the rest. You know, if I could give you one tip to make your promotions better, that is it. So I hope this lesson helps. And hopefully Ken and I will do the next one this coming weekend. We'll have it ready for next weekend. As always, if you like the channel, subscribe, and hit that bell button. I really, really appreciate it. And if you like the lesson, hit the like button. That helps too. And if you know somebody who's a PD, or if you know somebody who is wanting to be a PD or just start out in PD and you think this will help them, certainly tell them about the course. It would be really, really nice. We're almost at 400 subscribers. Getting really, really close now. I think we're at 380 now, 380 subscribers, which is stunning to me because it's like we're kind of almost at 400 PDs or new PDs or PD wannabes. I really never thought it would get this high, but we just keep growing week after week after week. So I really thank you for that. I mean, I really do appreciate it. It's really neat. I mean, this certainly for me, I do this for free. I don't get anything out of it. There's no commercials on this channel. I'm old. I've been in the business for, 50 some years. I think I'm coming up on 54, 55 years. I just wanted to leave something behind. Because the business has been awesome to me and I have had an amazing life because of it. Where I would have been an accountant and then my life probably would have sucked, but it didn't. It was amazing. So I just want to leave something back, and you guys are helping me. So thank you very much for that. So until the next lesson, see ya.